Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. This is Cloud Institution. So in this video, we're going to see about what is Azure VNet. Okay, so the session which you are going to see is that Azure VNet. What is Azure VNet? Azure VNet is nothing but the Azure network is a service that provides a fundamental building blocks for your private network in Azure. So what do you mean by this one is that it can give you the networking service. Okay, so if you want to create any kind of a VMs in Azure, so that you should be able to see, so that any kind of IP addresses will be, so some kind of a private IP address will be associated with that VM. So if you wanted to have, any kind of additional IP addresses or anything, so you have to be using the Azure VNet. So without creating a VNet, it is impossible to create a Azure VMs, so any kind of virtual machines or anything, if you want to create, first of all, you should be creating a Azure VNet. Okay, so basically VNet will give you a networking services. Okay, so please make sure that VNet will be giving you a networking service for your application. Okay, so it provides isolated environment for the application as well, right? What is isolated environment? Which means that so it can distinct your application by having that the specific IP addresses ranges and the networking services for your application. Okay, it's a highly secure network because VNet itself will be providing a lot of security features just like a DDoS protection, as a firewalls and all these things, so it can be provided. Okay, so now let's see how the VNet has been created. Okay, so now as you can see here, so this is the notepad, and I'm going to see, like, so I'm going to create a VNet. Okay, so this is kind of a VNet. So this VNet will be having a range of 10.0.0.0/24, which means that it will be having a 256 IP addresses, 256 IP address ranges. Okay, so this is the CIDR range, so let's discuss about the CIDR range in the future classes. Basically, I want to create my network which is having the IP address range of 256, which means that so if you can give 256 means, like, under the range of the IP addresses, I'll be choosing /24 as the CIDR range. Okay, so it is depends upon, so whenever you're creating a network, okay, so as a solution architect, whenever you're creating a network for your application, you have to be very careful about how many IP addresses you want for your team. Okay, so now for example, I'm just choosing 256 IP addresses I want, because maybe that so my entire network, so my entire network will be having kind of different systems and different configurations. So that will be having the IP addresses range of two less than so less than 250 kind of a IP addresses I'll be requiring. So but if you are going with a larger, if you're going with a, for example, if your team will be needing kind of a more than 500 IP addresses. Okay, so in this case, what you have to do is that you have to go with the IP range of 23. Okay, so in this case, it'll be having more than 500 IP ranges. Okay, but if you wanted to go with, like, so if your team is very less small, and if you want to only have kind of a, so like, almost like 100 IP addresses, okay, then you have to go with the IP address range of /25. Okay, so likewise, so this, if you go for 25, the ranges will be like 128 IP addresses you'll get. Okay, something like that, right? So now you'll be having, for example, let's go with /24, which is having a 256 IP addresses ranges for now. Okay, so after you're creating a VNet, you can create a subnets inside that. Okay, so for example, if you want to create a two subnets, okay, that will be divided exactly into two. Okay, so then it's going to be a subnet range. For the subnet one, will be having the IP address range of 10.0.0.0/20/25. Okay, so this is /25 IP addresses, and then after that, the subnet 2. Okay, the subnet 2 will be having the IP address range of IP address range over here, that subnet 2 with 128/128, because 0.128/25. Okay, which means that it will be having, so I've divided my bigger network So I'm having 256 IP addresses, but I have a two different subnets. What is subnets? So for example, I'm using two different, two different projects for which I wanted to create a subnet 1, subnet 2, which be having the isolated, so individual IP addresses ranges for the application, so then it should be having that 10.0.0./25 and then 128.25. So now we'll be having a two different networks. Now under which I'll be creating a different virtual machines. Okay, so all these virtual machines will be whatever I'm creating inside this one will be having the will be will be having the IP address range like this one. Okay, so similarly over here as well. So in this video, we are just going to see only how to create a VNet. Okay, in the next sessions, let's create subnets with the two different ranges. Okay, so now I'm going to console. Okay, so if you want to create a VNet, okay, you have to search here kind of VNet, virtual net. Okay, so currently we don't have any kind of VNets, right? Okay, let's create a VNet now. Create VNet. Okay, so choose subscription. Okay, so I have three subscriptions. One is cloud institution RG2, okay, network watcher resource group. Okay, so now I'm going to create my resource group, my resource under cloud institution RG. So the VNet name. So VNet name is going to be cloud institution hyphen VNet. Okay, so now I'm going to next, and so as you can see here, there are different options will be there. So virtual network encryption. So if you want to enable encryption for your application and for your network, you can enable it. And Azure Bastion is a service that provides a secure RDP and SSH connectivity to your virtual network over TLS. Okay, so this is kind of an additional option. So let's discuss it in the future classes. So now just leave it blank. And Azure Firewall. So what is Azure Firewall? Azure Firewall is nothing but it's kind of a cloud-based network security service. Okay, that will provide a Azure network resource. So if you want to create some kind of a firewall for your VNet, you can enable it. And the DDoS protection. Okay, DDoS protection is nothing but denial of services. So that's kind of a that used to prevent the attacks from any kind of applications or any kind of hackers, right? So if you want to enable it, all these things you can enable it. Okay, but so make sure that so these services will be charged for you additionally. So now I'm going to click on next. Now as I mentioned with you here, okay, I'm going to create a VNet with IP range of 10.0.0.0/24, which is going to be having a 256 IP address range. Okay, now I'm going back here. I'm going back to here. Okay, so 10.0.0.0/24 range. Okay, 24 range. So now as you can see here, it's going to be taking a complete network which is having a 10.0.0.0 and to 10.0.0.255 range. Okay, it's having a 256 IP address range. Okay, so it's going to be creating a default subnet. If you basically over here, if you can see, it's going to be creating a default subnet. It's like it's having a 256 IP address range, which is having consuming a complete address ranges. Okay, but I don't want this one. I'm going to delete it now. Now I want to create just a VNet. Okay, so it's just running a validation and just create. Okay, so deployment is in progress. Okay, it should be done in a fraction of seconds. Okay, this is successful. Now you can go back here, and if you can see here, like go under virtual networks. Okay, if you can refresh it. So we have created one of the virtual network, VNet here, which is having the range of 10.0.0.0/24. Okay. Now, in the next video, we are going to create two distinct subnets, and then we are going to, do different subnets under this VNet, and we are going to create some kind of a virtual machines or some kind of a different resources underneath. Okay, so that's it about this video. In the next video, we're going to see what is subnets and how to create a different subnets based on your IP address ranges. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. Okay, so see you in the next video.